Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the 203rd session of the online Optom Learning Series, OOLS. And for today's session, again, we are very fortunate to have our education support from Waggoner Corporation, and they are specialized in color vision testing. And today we are joined with TJ Waggoner. TJ is the co-founder and CEO of Waggoner Diagnostic, which is an ophthalmic medical device company. And as I said, they specialize in color vision and color vision testing. His background consists of having a bachelor's in psychology and a master's of industrial as well as organizational psychology, an MBA, and he has now, I think, on the verge of finishing his coursework, PhD, striving hard to do that in his specialty of interest. And TJ, thank you so much, for joining us today, and thank you for Waggoner Diagnostic to kind of support this event. Not only that, but support the attendees to give away 5 color vision tests, which will be given away at the end of session. So as we said, we'll have a short quiz. So stay back until the end. We have a short quiz, and then we'll find out who those lucky 5 winners are. TJ, over to you. I think I don't want to stop that enthusiasm from you and let you take it over.
Oh, thank you so much, FB, for having me. Thank you so much, everybody out there, for coming and listening today about color vision. So today we're going to be discussing utilizing color vision diagnostics, red flag, and measure progression of ocular health for obviously online Optom Learning Series, OOLS, the 203rd episode. Again, my name is TJ Waggoner. Super excited to be here. And so thank you. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to have an overview. The overview is, who is this guy? Who am I? Why should I be listening to this guy about color vision? We're going to be talking about cones. We're going to be talking about the different types of diagnostic color vision tests to improve your patient outcomes. Then we're also going to be talking a little bit about the diseases and their effects on color vision. Can you get your color vision back? Is it gone instantly? Things like this. And then also how to utilize these diagnostic color vision tests to improve patient outcomes. So we've got a full plate today, and we're going to be going over that. And I'm really excited. All right. So who is this guy? Again, FB did a fantastic job. Thank you so much introducing me. I'm super flattered. Again, I've got a bachelor's in psychology, a master's of industrial organizational psychology, an MBA. And then, as he said, I am trying really hard to finish this PhD. I have finished the coursework, but the dissertation is quite elusive and quite difficult. But hopefully we'll be getting that as well. The dissertation topic most likely is going to be color vision in healthcare and how it affects patient outcomes for nurses. So when they're looking for discoloration on skin, things like that, because color vision is a really important aspect when it comes to occupational health. My consulting background. So I've consulted with the US Navy, Army, Coast Guard, FAA, and although we don't have official contracts with the FBI, things like that, we have worked with them to talk about the color vision testing, what kind of testing they should do, what kind of difficulties they'll have as agents, things like that. And something that's really, really important that I like to, I am not an optometrist, a neuroscientist, a vision scientist in any way, shape, or form. My specialization starts and stops with color vision, right? So I know a lot about color vision, but when it comes to the disease, glaucoma, macular, I talk very surface level because that's not my specialty. That is your specialty. So I'm discussing how to utilize this technology in the practice, in the school, in research. But really, at the end of the day, you are the specialist, and you need to really think about this knowledge that I'm sharing and how do you apply it best in your office. And last, I got a little bit of experience in color vision, not just from a educational background and understanding color vision, but also I am a severe deutan, which means I'm severely green weak. I have problems with green. It has shifted. I am an anomalous trichromat, potentially a dichromat, but again, we're not really sure 100%. And so last full disclosure, I always like to discuss this to make sure that you understand. I try my hardest to be unbiased during these presentations. However, I am the co-founder of Waggoner Diagnostics. We specialize in color vision, and I co-developed the Waggoner computerized color vision test. However, we'd like to try to talk about all the color vision tests that are out there and why they're great and why you should be adding them to your practice. So here we are, cones, cones, cones. Of 3 of the 4 photoreceptors in our retina, are cones, right? The other one is going to be the rods, which there's 120 million of them. So, and 120 million rods and 6 million cones. Of those 3 photoreceptors, we've got red, green, and blue cones. All right. And a very important ratio here, or proportion of cones, is your red, green, and blue. And that's going to be 6 red for every 3 green and every 1 blue. So for every 10 cones in our eye of those 6 million, 6 are red, 3 are green, and 1 is blue. We're going to be talking about why that's important in the future, especially for the acquired color vision deficiency. And those cones are really located in the macula. Okay, so in that center. And now the one I really like to actually help people with, is how do we see the world? You know, as somebody who's a severe deuterian, a lot of what color is this? What color is that? So the analogy I'm going to give you right now is really just painting our world analogy. Okay. So the painting our world analogy, let's pretend we have a paint palette, as you can see up here. We've got your your blue, your green, and your red. Now, you're probably all looking at this plate right now and saying, hey, you know, that's not blue, green, and red. That's blue, brown, and red. And you're not wrong. I actually created this presentation and sent it off for review by some optometrists and some other subject matter experts. I always like to get second opinions to make sure I'm not making mistakes. And they said, well, you've got a brown paint up there. And, you know, I just thought that was too good of an example of how color vision deficients see the world that I went ahead and left it up for you because I thought it was green as I was creating this paint palette. So apparently I used brown instead of green. So let's go ahead, and we've got our blue, our green, and our red. And for everybody with normal color vision, what they're going to be able to do is they're going to mix the same exact blue with the same exact green when they're painting their world. Okay, so when they're painting their world, everybody uses the same exact color, the same amount of that color. So you all perceive something very, very similar, if not the same. Now, people who are color vision deficient, now what's happened here, depending on which type we have, if it's an anomalous trichromacy, which means we have all 3 cones, just one has shifted, then what's happening is let's go ahead and give these colors a number. Instead of just red, blue, green, and red, let's say blue is 420, green is 530, and red is 560. So what happens here, as somebody who is a green deficient, as I've mentioned, I am a deutan, I'm a severe deutan, that means I have a green deficiency. So instead of 530, what it's done is that tone has shifted, right? So from 530, maybe I'm using 550 instead of 530. So you'll notice that 550 is much closer to 560. And now we have that overlap, right, of that red and that green. So hence the confusion between red, green, colorblind. And remember, I will say the word colorblind and color vision deficient synonymously. Please know they are not synonymous. Not to 99.9% of the people in the world, it is synonymous. Colorblind is really talking to just black, white, and shades of gray, where color vision deficiency is actually, we do see color, we just see the world differently, as I mentioned. So instead of 530, it's 550, or we even have dichromats. And dichromats is when we're actually missing cones completely. So instead of even having a green cone, maybe that is gone. So we don't even see that green, this brown, or, you know, as I mentioned, green to me, we only have our blues and our reds. So, all right, cones, cones, cones. Moving on to the next thing. Oh, maybe not. Let's see. All right, here we go. So, as you notice, we are going to show you in this macula, in the retina, we really have mostly reds and greens, and then slightly on the outer side in the periphery, we start to get more. But if you notice in this picture, there's a lot more reds compared to green. Again, 6 reds to every 3 greens, and then 1 blue. So again, that's the distribution. Now, how long has it been since you've looked at the anatomy of a cone? It's been a long time for a lot of people. Some people have not even taken the time to be able to learn this yet or brought it to their attention. So we're just going to go over it briefly today. Really, there's 5 main segments or 5 different pieces of the cone. We've got the outer segment, the connecting cilium, the inner segment, the cell body, and the synaptic region. That outer segment is where the opsin is. That opsin is what turns that light into electrical energy, and what starts getting our cones really excited about what color we're actually going to see. So our short cone, our S cone, is for blue. Our green cone, our medium cone right here is green, and then our long cone is red. That connecting cilium is basically connecting that electrical energy from the outer segment and going down into the inner segment where the mitochondria, the powerhouse of that cell body is, and the endoplasmic reticulum. And then we go into the cell body, the nucleus. So really at the end of the day, if the inner segment and the cell body in these cones are damaged or hurt, and it really does start killing these cones off. And that's important because that means we are going to start having worse color vision because of that. Now, if it's just simply attacking the opsin in the outer segment, that opsin can come back as long as the inner segment and cell body are intact and healthy. So we can actually get our color back. And then last, we got the synaptic region, sending that communication. We've gotten it all into the cones. We see what electrical energy is coming through, and now we're sending it off through that synaptic region and that terminal. All right, so what are the benefits of color vision testing? Today, we're going to really be talking mainly about the acquired, but I want to touch briefly on the genetic reasons. So first of all, we're going to help identify young children as young as 3. That's really important to help them help children succeed in school. The children who have, poor visual acuity, poor color vision, oftentimes they're labeled in school. So here we want to make sure that we're not labeling them, that they're getting the best education they can, and they're not falling into the self-fulfilling prophecy. And so, again, it's just really important to test these young children and let their teachers know, let their parents know, and really set these kids up for success when it comes from a genetic deficiency. But the reason we're here today, the reason we're excited, and the reason that color vision is going to add so much to your practice is the acquired defect. It's most often the first symptom of ocular disease and toxicity. It comes because of glaucoma, multiple sclerosis, macular degeneration, diabetic retinopathy, the top 4 leading causes of blindness, cataracts, but also because of ocular toxicity with Plaquenil, sildenafil, and other medications. So why do we want to do color vision testing in our practices? Because it improves patient outcomes. We're going to be able to red flag a lot of these acquired deficiencies, and which, in my opinion, and a lot of doctors, does improve patient outcomes. So today we're going to talk about, in the past, we've been using Ishihara, made back in 1918. So over 100 years old. HRR, also an older test. This is not your grandparents' color vision test anymore. To really create the best improved patient outcomes, you need to start using a diagnostic color vision test, an extended, a precision, a computerized. This is a lot of terms used across the board here in the United States. So some of those include the cone contrast sensitivity test, awesome test developed by the U.S. Air Force. And it tests for all 3 types of deficiencies: your protan, your deutans, and your tritans. Remember that tritan, that's the one that we really want to focus on because it affects 15% of the general population because of it's acquired. We have our CAD, the color assessment diagnostic. This is a great test also out of the UK. Great validation. And then we have ours, the Waggoner computerized color vision test. You could get that on our website. Then also we're comparable to the FM100 and to the anomaloscopes. You all might be familiar with the anomaloscopes. You have a red, green, but you also have a blue, yellow. Want to make sure that you're testing for both. Again, at the bottom, I say the tritan test. That's not a type of color vision test. That is the type, that is a deficiency we're trying to find. And that's the one that's so important when it comes to acquired. So these are the types of tests that you're going to want to use. The FM100 takes a really long time to administer and score. And we have shown that we're comparable to the anomaliscope, which is comparable to the FM100. So again, a much faster experience, usually 45 minutes to an hour for FM100, where with these computerized color vision tests, it takes about 5 minutes or less for most of them. All right, so moving on. So what is it? What's different about these tests? Why are these tests better than the Ishihara? What is it telling us? So here I want to talk about, you'll often hear cone contrast threshold, cone contrast sensitivity test, cone sensitive. So that's exactly what we're doing here. You'll notice in the bottom left-hand corner, our protein deutan screening plate. It's really, there's lots of colors in there. That's in a confusion color in the CIE LAB coordinates, a confusion area. Now, when it comes to the protan, deutan, and tritan, these are actually on confusion axes, okay? And that is why we are able to also measure the progression of the disease, because we can see where it is on the axes. So you'll notice here for the severe protan, it's a lot easier for most people to see than this mild protan, which they might not see. And why is that? Because that gray background, we have lots of grays in the background, and we're taking that red and we're making it go ahead and become more and more desaturated. Kind of what I was talking about, that cone contrast. We're desaturating those cones more and more, so it fades into that gray background, so we can see, are you mild, moderate, or severe? And this is what also allows us to measure that progression for ocular diseases and toxicity. Same goes for that deutan, severe and mild. Here, I can't see any of those. It shows that I have a severe deutan deficiency. And then here we also have the tritan, that 45 up here. And then we have for the milds also. All right, moving on. Usually I have questions, so I'm just feel like I'm doing a lot of talking, but hopefully I'm not moving too fast and everybody's getting some good information here. So right here, I went ahead. I hate when people just read off of a screen. I'm here to be presented. I'm here to be entertained. But, I really wanted to emphasize the important, because a lot of people don't understand how color vision can be utilized when it comes to disease. So I went ahead and took some peer-reviewed articles, and I extracted some really key statements that they mentioned. That way I can go ahead and explain the importance to you all. So for cataracts, color vision testing, which quantifies hereditary and acquired color vision deficiencies, can also quantify degree of cataract severity, and combined with other parameters can provide more precise guidance for extraction of optimize patient care. So color vision, along with other parameters, can actually improve the extraction of cataracts and improve cataract surgery, which is really, really awesome. Then in regards to glaucoma, again, we mentioned the quantitative and the qualitative aspects of color vision. So you want to be testing for protan, deutan, and tritan defects, blue, green, and red. So quantitative analysis of color vision defects provides a possibility of follow-up and can prove a useful means of detecting early glaucoma changes in patients with normal visual fields. So I think that's a really important aspect here. You actually will still have, a lot of patients will have normal visual fields, but they will have an acquired color vision deficiency due to glaucoma. So you can use color vision to really red flag for glaucoma. We're not diagnostic of glaucoma, but we can red flag for it and say, hey, something's wrong. You need to start digging deeper. And that's even before visual fields issues. Macular degeneration, eyes with the same phenotype of intermediate age-related macular degeneration can have varying degrees of color threshold loss. So functional markers enhance the clinical definition, disease, and expression of AMD. Again, the top 4 leading causes of blindness is so important here. A diabetic retinopathy, our findings suggest that there is a dramatically increased prevalence of acquired color vision impairment in type 2 diabetes patients without diabetic retinopathy. So we're actually starting to see color vision deficiencies in diabetic patients, and not just caused by diabetic retinopathy, which we also know causes an acquired defect. And then last but not least, we have MS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, several other neurooptometric diseases that cause an acquired. The reason I wanted to put this is because this blew my mind. Non-motor signs of neurodegeneration, such as color vision and olfaction abnormalities, are detectable by clinical examination as early as 20 years before the disease onset for Parkinson's disease, specifically. Not MS, not Alzheimer's, but Parkinson's. This is what that statement is. So 20 years before the onset of Parkinson's, you can have an acquired defect. Again, I always ask, what are you doing to improve your patient outcomes? This is a very easy way to do it, and it's simply through diagnostic color vision testing. All right, moving on forward. So today, again, we're talking, I know over in the Asia Pacific area, cataracts are a very, very big contributor to blindness. So we know that cataracts, according to peer-reviewed sightings, up to 64% of people that have cataracts have abnormal color vision. So this one is a little bit of a trick question. Again, I usually like to have people answer, but today it seems like I'm more presenting. What cone regions are affected? We're going to talk about that for all the diseases. But again, this one is a little bit of a trick question. And the reason is because cataracts don't affect the cones. They don't attack the cones. They're not attacking the outer segment. They're not attacking the nucleus or the cell, where the cell body. But what we're actually doing here is cataracts, as you all know, come through and it scatters the light. Well, when you're scattering the light, that really is acting like a prism, right? So due to that, it scatters the light. Maybe here, normally it would be like this. Maybe it changes it like this down here, because really that light enters, it scatters the light, it has a difference. So due to the yellowish tint of the cataracts, it mainly is going to affect your blue cones. But eventually, the worse and worse your cataracts get, the less light it lets in, and that's eventually it blocks all light, leading to blindness. So the question here is, can I get my color back when I have cataracts? And the answer is absolutely yes. After you have cataract surgery or you provide cataract surgery, most patients first say, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I had lost so much color. They look around, everything looks so bright, vibrant to them. And so they really do like having that surgery and saying, oh my gosh, I have my color back. So that is cataracts. Again, doesn't affect the cones, but actually how the light enters the eye and how the cones react to that. All right, moving on to macular degeneration. Please know that the acquired color vision deficiency is actually a subclinical symptom of macular degeneration. So it's not, you won't have structural issues, you won't have anything. It will be one of the first red flags that we have as an acquired defect. So really, what cones are affected? It's the outer segment. It's that opsin. And why is it happening? Why? The accumulation of metabolic waste products such as lipofuscin, might be mispronouncing that. I apologize. As well as the oxidative stress damage to the outer segment. So the question here, and it really depends on how long you've had the disease, how well it's being managed, but can I get my color back? Now, again, it really depends on, are the cones actually being killed off because the nuclear body is being attacked, or the mitochondria, or is the outer segment and the cilium, has it broken off? That really depends. So yes, if it's being managed properly and that opsin can come a little bit, but really at the end of the day, it depends every single time for every patient on if you're going to be able to color back. All right, moving on. So glaucoma. We know that it's also an acquired defect is a subclinical symptom of glaucoma and affects up to 60% according to peer-reviewed science. What regions are affected? You've got your outer segment as well as your cell body. So what's happening? The effects, the outer segment and the cell bodies, damage occurs from the reduced oxygen supply to the retina, oxidative stress, inflammation, direct pressure on the cells from the IOP. So it's really going ahead and touching that macula, attacking in those cones. They are starting. So the more and more those cones actually die off instead of just opsin being attacked, does mean you're going to have reduced color vision. It's really important to point out, and I haven't mentioned this, but I will, that acquired color vision defects are going to affect each eye on their own. So it's important that when we do testing, which we're going to talk a little bit about and how to implement in the office, that we do it monocularly. We're going to want to do each eye on its own because each eye can be affected on its own. So can we get our color back? If being managed properly, less intraocular pressure, things like that, and it's not attacking cones, there is a chance to get a little bit of that color back if it's being managed properly. All right, let's keep moving on. Diabetic retinopathy. As I mentioned earlier, it's not just diabetic retinopathy that causes an acquired defect, but type 2 diabetes is causing it. And so I think we need some more research into this. And why is diabetic retinopathy or diabetes causing an acquired defect and attacking the cones before the retinopathy even appears? So what cone regions are being affected? As we talked about earlier, it's the outer segment where that opsin is. And then what exactly is happening? That reduced blood flow to the retina kills the cones. Again, that word right there, kills the cones, really means that color is going to be hard to get back. You cannot, it's the opsin that we have to reproduce in, up in that outer segment, and it grows back. But when you start destroying the cone bodies and the nucleus, it really does have a big effect on your color, and it's not going to be coming back. That leaking blood increases swelling in the retina, and then you have new blood vessels, leads to retina scarring. Again, I like to think I know a lot about color vision, but when it comes to these diseases, you all are the experts. So we're going to talk about shortly how to utilize these color vision tests in your practice, and that way you can go ahead and do it with these diseases. So as I mentioned, we talk about those 4 top leading causes of blindness quite a bit. Cataracts, glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy, macular degeneration. But we also have lots and lots of substances, 300 plus, that can cause ocular toxicity. That ranges from alcohol to aspirin to ibuprofen, even the influenza virus vaccine. So lots of different things could cause an acquired defect. And so just, the biggest ones we know are hydroxychloroquine, also known as Plaquenil. But basically by giving that and managing using color vision tests, you can see if it's causing too much ocular toxicity and those color vision, the color vision is becoming acquired deficiency. So again, really important to use that while managing those patients on that medication. All right, so genetic or acquired. So again, we do have the Waggoner computerized color vision test. And that's what I'm going to show. But the other tests are fantastic. They've been validated. They're great tests. They have that tritan. So on the left-hand side, you're going to see I did it with both eyes. Both eyes were open. I have a severe deutan because I got 15 out of 23 on the protan section, but I got 0 out of 5 on that deutan. So it shows I'm a severe tuner. I did it with both eyes open. Now, if I would have done it monocularly on this test, because I'm genetic, I will get an extremely similar result, if not the same. 15 out of 23 or 16 out of 23, 0 out of 5 on that deutan because I'm genetic. And just cover up one eye monocularly, cover up the other eye, and it will be similar. Now, when it comes to acquired, something that may look like the one on the right, it's actually per eye. So here we have the OD, the right eye. We covered up the left, and it's 7 out of 12. So as you can see, we can go ahead and give this test left eye covered, then right eye covered. You could actually have a mild tritan, a moderate, or even a severe tritan in one eye and have normal color vision in the other. And that's why giving it monocularly is so important, because acquired color vision deficiencies can affect each eye on its own. And that is almost a sure sign that it's acquired, is when you find a deficiency that's only affecting one eye and not the other, or if it's a different severity. All right, moving on. So as you can see here, you can measure the progression over time. This is just an example for you from our color vision test. Basically, you got the individual. Again, it's an example. It shows the date down here. May have some confusion because it is month, day, year, instead of day, month. But we go ahead and we start here with 12 out of 12. But then here, 10 out of 12. Might be passing, but we are starting to see, and as that trend line is going down, that means they are getting a more severe deficiency. So if this was a medication, we want to make sure that we take a look at that and managing that properly. Or if it's disease, we need to take a look at, is IOP too high still and causing this for glaucoma, things like that. So easy ways to measure progression. So what are the key takeaways today? I've been talking at you a lot, so let me just go ahead and finish it up with some key takeaways. And then I'd love to get some questions and answers and anything that y'all have on your mind. Hopefully I'll be able to answer them. So the diagnostic color vision test must be qualitative and quantitative. We must be able to tell you what type out of the 3 types of color vision deficiencies: protan, which is our red; deutan, which is our green; and tritan, which is our blue. And then mild, moderate, and severe, we tell you, and that way you can see where it's going on that trend line. The next thing is we can use these type of diagnostic color vision tests for the top 4 leading causes of blindness, and it affects 15% of the general population. So really a huge opportunity here to improve patient outcomes. Utilize it to tritan test for disease and ocular toxicity. And again, why is it the tritan test so important? It's because of these cone ratios. We've got, for every 10 cones, we've got 6 reds, we've got 3 greens, and we've got 1 blue. So everything starts attacking these cones. Again, the 6, we attack 1. We've still got 5 here of the reds. We've got 3. Okay, now we still got 2 of the greens. But that 1, if we got attacking it, we take away that 1. So that's why that blue is going to be the first one to go in acquired defect. Again, very important. So now I can't ask these questions, but hopefully I can make these create these answers for you, and hopefully they're true. And if for some reason I don't have them, I'll definitely look into. So any questions or answers? FB, you're going to lead us on this one. It's all you.
Thanks, TJ, for taking us through, the entire talk about color vision. I think you did cover a lot of basics yet important things which a clinician and an optometrist must know what's happening in color vision. So thank you so much, for sharing that with us today. Just, kind of launch a couple of polls to see what people think about color vision and what they have been doing in their practice. So I'm just launching a couple of polls here. We just want to know how many of you kind of administer or perform color vision testing in your office.
Yeah, and please be honest. It's okay. There's a lot of people that don't do it because they don't understand the value that color vision testing can bring, right? So that's why I feel so fortunate to be here today with FB and with OOLS, because I get, to educate people on this and the importance of that tritan test and how much more value it can add to your practice. So it's okay if you rarely do it or just occasional. Just be honest, and hopefully now we can start to spread the awareness of the importance of color vision testing and how it can add value to the practice.
Wonderful. Great. So yeah, I'm just going to leave this for another 5 seconds. Majority of you have kind of voted, and it looks good, actually. TJ, what do you think?
I think it looks like a perfect bell curve, if you ask me. You've got never to every time, and it's just perfectly distributed. The Z-scores look all aligned. I think this is probably what it should look like. We'd like it a little bit more skewed over till that every time, but you know what? We completely understand, and that's why we're here today. So hopefully you all will learn something here today and be able to implement more.
Awesome, great. And let me go ahead and launch the next poll. So if, let's say you're performing color vision testing, the question we want to know is, what is your color vision tests you're usually doing? So are you performing any Ishihara, HRR, D15, FM100, or if you're using any other color vision test, we would like to know if you can put up on the chat.
Yeah. So this is fantastic, and I do understand that Ishihara is 100 years old, but hey, it's what got us here today. And in medical devices, we have to start somewhere, right? And then somebody has to come along and make a better mousetrap. So I love the fact that people are using Ishihara. It is a great red-green screening. However, we are advancing our technology. technologies. And so hopefully we'll get more people using advanced testing.
Yeah.
But I do love to see that it's being done regardless. So it makes sense that the Ishihara is the main one. They've got 100 years ahead of us, but hopefully Waggoner will take them over.
Hopefully, yes. That would be great to have this computerized testing, and Waggoner would be one of that. Yeah. Awesome. Great. Let me just launch the next one. This is just basically to understand in your clinical practice, as TJ was mentioning, that color vision could be very useful in making a diagnosis or probably getting some red flags to detect ocular diseases. And I think he did tell us about the 4 major leading causes of blindness, which directly, indirectly affects color vision. So have you ever utilized these diagnostic color vision tests to help red flags for ocular disease or toxicity as well?
This is a very interesting one. I love to see how many yeses we have going on here. Now, I love to see these yeses. If they are using Ishihara, I do want to point out that that is only testing for red and greens, right? So if we are finding an acquired defect monocularly with Ishihara, covering up both eyes, not both eyes, that'd be very difficult, obviously. We want to cover up one eye at a time. That means that the progression of that disease has started going and attacking affecting green and red, right? Because acquired affects that blue first because it has only 1 for every 3 and 6. But as the disease continues, we are going to actually start seeing the greens go away and having difficulties with that. And then the red. So that the Ishihara will be able to see this, but it's later during the disease. So it's not really preventative care. However, it's still doing so. I love this. This is great to see that it's about half and half. Some are using it for diagnostic of disease and toxicity, and others aren't. But hopefully, after today, more people will say yes.
Awesome, great. And we'll take one last poll. This is again just to know about what's happening in the diagnostic section. So if you had a diagnostic color vision test, which would you use it often, all the time, occasionally, every time? After you have learned about color vision today, which is very fresh from the oven from DJ, what's your thoughts?
All right. It's going in the right direction. Well, and even if it's not, that's okay. It means I got to be a better presenter, better educator to get people really excited about it. And sometimes there are times that maybe it's not the right thing for the practice. And we understand that too. I understand that I'm a little biased when it comes to testing for color vision. So I have to respect there's some other incredible devices out there that can truly improve patient outcomes. I'm just biased and that's okay sometimes.
That's okay. Yeah. So we have majority of them saying yes occasionally. At least so I think the beauty is if you start using it, you will realize the potential and the importance, and then slowly and steadily it will become a practice in routine practice. You will do it on every patient you find it to do, or probably do it on every patient who walk in to your clinic that day. Awesome. Great. Yeah. So we have started receiving some questions, TJ. So I think it will be a good time to take some questions. Take a couple of questions and get opinion from the expert here today. Wonderful, great. So the first question is probably in your opinion, when you're kind of doing color vision preparations and things like that, do you think there is a possibility of a sudden color vision deficiency at a presbyopic age 45, and what potentially could be the reason? Can you share a little bit more on your experience?
Yeah. So great question. So again, I want to remind everybody that color vision is my specialty, and that's where it starts and stops. So when it comes to these other things, these are just my opinions. I am not an optometrist or a doctor by training. So at the age of 45, again, so there's so many things that can cause an acquired defect, right? You got multiple sclerosis, glaucoma, macular degeneration. So you have all these acquired defects. So now, is it equal in both eyes? Is it this, that? It really depends on the case, what the other results are. But absolutely at the age of 45, and even, just like cataract, that's a discoloration of the lens. Small, countries that have really bad smog, that can actually cause a discoloration of the lens. Smoking, if you smoke tobacco, that can cause discoloration. So really, you said sudden color deficiency. So I am going to say that it's something, but that's a very unique one. And now I did get an answer. It's equal in both eyes. Thank you so much for doing that so quickly. So with that said, 20 to 30% of people who have a color vision deficiency do not know it, actually.
Right.
So I'm wondering if it was a mild defect and not moderate or severe. If this individual just never knew or never had a color vision test before, that's also something that might have occurred. So again, there's a lot of different things that could be happening here. Maybe they've just never gotten a color vision test and it's just a genetic deficiency, or maybe it is an acquired defect. So yes, it is a possibility, and just having more information would be best for the doctor to make that decision.
Wonderful. Great. Awesome. So I'm just going to take the next question here. And this is again, I think you did cover this when you were explaining the test.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if I didn't, that's a miss on my behalf. So the results are actually much better. So our sensitivity in these computerized color vision tests, and in the United States, the FAA, so the Federal Aviation Administration, has coined our color vision test as precision color vision tests. So it has shown to be better than the Ishihara at screening, as well as Ishihara cannot be a diagnostic. It is just a screening, red or green. And it's not even red or, well, there is one plate that will tell you if it's red or green. However, I don't think that's a diagnostic, and that it's a very, very approximation. So again, the computerized color vision tests out there are much more sensitive, much more specific, and then also test all three types and tell you mild, moderate, or severe. So again, screening is the Ishihara, yes or no, you're color vision deficient, where the computerized are going to say yes or no, what type, and how severe. So a lot more information, therefore hopefully improving your patient outcomes.
Awesome, great. And I think you did kind of jump into the next question as well, because you said that Ishihara is a screening test and the sensitivity and the specificity are, kind of not that great. But what about comparison of the computerized tests with the spectral sensitivity function assessment? Has this been done? And, what's your thought over this particular aspect?
Yeah, so I actually, if possible, I'd like to elaborate a little bit more on spectral sensitivity function assessment. Is that a specific color vision test that's out there, or is it, do we know? So I can't, Ishihara is a screening, everything else. So in regard to D15 and the FM100, so the D15 actually has 75% sensitivity according to peer-reviewed articles. So I can speak for the Waggoner CCVT as well as the cone contrast sensitivity test in CAD. They're usually above 90%. I know with ours, with the validation by the United States Navy, the Waggoner CCVT had a 98% sensitivity, 100% specificity. So the Farnsworth 100 hue is going to be a comparable test to the Waggoner CCVT. So I would say we were validated against the Nagel anomaliscope, which is the gold standard for color vision diagnostics. And then the Farnsworth 100 has often been compared to the Farnsworth. So although we don't have a direct correlation or we have not compared it directly, the Waggoner CCVT to the FM100, we do have that link of the Nagel anomaliscope to say that it is very, very similar and comparable. So again, I'm not sure on the spectral sensitivity function assessment most accurate. So I apologize. Hopefully I answered it with a D15 and the FM100 answer. Sorry if I did not.
No problem. I think the whole idea is to understand the comparison of the test was done scientifically, and it did show that it is comparable.
Yes.
Right? I think that's
we 100% were validated by a third party, which was the US Navy. We've been validated by the Navy, the FAA, Army, third-party institutions like universities. Validation is absolutely critical to the success of in medtech, and I believe you should not be selling your device unless it's been validated by a third party.
Awesome, great. And I think the next question is again very clinically based. Do you think the future of this test is it could be used in more of a vision screening setup because you said that it's much faster to use, or do you think it's still more towards the diagnosis aspect? Do
Yeah.
you want to keep this as a
So
diagnostic test?
So, it is an adaptive test. So we actually do a screening, and if they pass the screening, we don't give the diagnostic portion. So
Okay.
that way, it is adaptive and it goes quite quickly. So yes, you can absolutely use it as a vision screening because we will be testing both red, green. I mean, sorry, all three: red, green, and blue from a screening perspective. And then if anything has failed, we give you an extended portion of it so that it is diagnostic. So yes, I do think it's a great test. And so are all the others. Again, I'm just biased because I developed this one.
Great. TJ, I think a lot of us are having questions about the Waggoner test. Is there anything which you can probably quickly share with us about the test in terms of the technical aspect? Because I see a couple of questions related to the system requirements. Do you need to have a
Absolutely.
specific?
So yeah, let's go ahead and start at the very beginning. So first of all, there is a free 30-day download at waggonerdiagnostics.com, www.waggoner, WAGGONER, diagnostics.com. And I believe there'll be a link for that. In the upper right-hand corner, it says download free trial. And just fill out that information. It will send a link to you. You can download it. And that way you can see if it works on your Windows computer. You can download it right then and there, see if it works with your, just like you were saying, the specifications. So get that going and then send, if you love it, and you just think it adds so much value to your practice, shoot me an email, as you're using it. Tell me if you found anything interesting. So, maybe you did it monocularly on somebody that macular degeneration or cataract and you found an acquired defect. Shoot me an email. I love cases like this. I love to hear it. And maybe you'll get a little special something if you send me some, letting me know that you are implementing it and truly improving patient outcomes. Would love to know more about that.
Awesome. Great.
So I've actually tried countless of the versions of these glasses, whether it's in chroma or all the different types of competitors. And let me go ahead and start with peer-reviewed research. And that basically shows that peer-reviewed science currently says that these do not correct or treat color vision deficiencies, right? It does not allow people with a color vision deficiency to see normal color vision. Just like your glasses, you put them on, it does allow you to see 20/20. Therefore, it actually does treat. Now, so basically, now that's the science, that's peer-reviewed. It doesn't mean I am against these glasses. So what I always say is, we're familiar with in psychology the placebo effect. And as somebody with a psychology background, I always say, if I was in a clinical trial and they were giving me a pill every day to improve my productivity by 500%, and after a month of doing this, my results were off the charts. My productivity was great. I'm doing better. Life is good. I would tell that doctor, don't even tell me if I'm taking the placebo. Just go ahead and just keep giving me the placebo. Just keep giving me this pill because it's improving my quality of life. And that's exactly how I feel about these glasses. Now, if a patient goes in to the doctor, tries on these glasses, they're able to maybe dress themselves better. They can see ripe fruits and vegetables. They can see when their meat's cooked. All these difficulties that color vision deficient people have. If they try these glasses on and it truly improves the quality of their life, I suggest getting the glasses. Do I like to wear them? No, I don't personally. But if it does improve, then wear them. And I absolutely, so again, the peer-reviewed science shows that these do not correct color vision. But if it improves the quality of the life of your patients, then I say, why not? That's my personal opinion.
Right. And any type of contact lenses have you tried? The chromagen lenses or the X-chrome lenses, which help.
So I've never put any of these contact lenses. I've usually just used the glasses aspect of it, and I have not done anything contacts wise.
Awesome, great. And yeah, to the attendees, we are just giving you a reminder. We have received a lot of quizzes at this point in time. We are waiting to kind of reveal the results, but we are keeping it open for another couple of minutes. So if you haven't done that, take that quiz while we take a couple of more questions which has popped up on the chat. So the next question, TJ, is about Parkinson's, and you did talk about this somewhere in your slides, where they have a little bit about color vision problems and things like that. Have you encountered something like that, or do you have
Yeah,
any
absolutely.
experience? Yeah.
Oh, I just lost you for some reason. I don't know why. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, okay, fantastic. So normally, how early does Parkinson pay? So again, the peer-reviewed article that I shared said that it can appear up to 20 years earlier than the onset. Now, again, I do not know what the average is, and it's hard for me to go because, again, that's not my specialty. That was something that I read a couple months ago. Again, we can look in just, Google Scholar, Parkinson's, color vision, when does it appear, things like that. That's probably going to be your best bet. Again, I know it can be up to 20 years early, but I don't know what normally happens.
I see. Okay,
I
great.
wish I could be more educational there and know a better answer, but I don't have it perfectly there.
Yeah, I think this is something which can be our homework. We can go back and check, because this is the thought process which has now started, and we can always go and read from the resources, which is very easily available, right?
Exactly.
Awesome, great. And just taking one more question, I think you did mention about this, that this is available on the website and things like that. But would you like to highlight, because I think people are interested kind of to know whether do I need an iPad, do I need a normal computer or things like that? Yeah.
Absolutely. So this is a really great question. So, whenever I get this question, I always ask, are you giving your current color vision test, your Ishihara, your HRR, anything like that, under a 6,500 Kelvin light, which is natural daylight? So technically, we're supposed to actually give every single color vision test underneath lighting like that. So if you're not, it's actually invalid. However, this is a very normal thing. People don't usually give this at under 6,500 Kelvin. So the brightness of it, absolutely. So we usually recommend, we know that on the surface, Microsoft computers at 50%, the luminance is a great place to be. Also, because of what's known as McAdams ellipse, it is a concept in color that basically shows colors on a CIE LAB coordinates on XY. When you take a specific coordinate for a color, there's actually a McAdams ellipse that goes around that color that our perception does not change of that color within that ellipse. So there is room for a little bit of sway in regards to that brightness. But we have noticed on uncalibrated monitors, we do have a little better than Ishihara and the HRR. So we do have shown on that to have that specifically. Great question, though. We always just recommend doing it 50% functionality, where it's saying like it takes into consideration the ambient lighting, where it makes it go less or it makes it go more. When the lights go down, it makes it brighter or less bright. We do not want that.
Right. Okay, great. And any specifications do you want us to keep on the computer screen itself? I know it's available on Android, it's available on the Play Store, it's available on the Windows as well. But the screen brightness, is there any specific way the software controls it, or do you want us to set in some way?
It's just from the general settings. You can just put the luminance at 50%, 50.
Okay, that's great. So that's wonderful to know, because I think couple of these, not only of the color vision tests, a couple of these tests which are coming up now do require certain amount of minimum requirement of the system. So,
Oh, absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
what people are curious about, because one more computer in the office, one more iPad in the office, people think that it's a bit challenging.
And,
right?
and that's exactly why we did things the way we did at Waggoner Diagnostics, is because we wanted to make it affordable and we wanted to make it easy to implement to your office. So our requirements, I mean, we developed this several years ago. And so with that said, it's good, I think, all the way to Windows 7 operating system. So that just shows, but again, you got the 30-day trial. So go ahead and try that. And then let me know if you have any good cases or anything that's interesting. And let's see if we can set you up for success in the future. So just send me an email with that information.
Awesome. Great. So I think we have, kind of covered all the questions which popped up on the chat. And
thank you so much. Y'all have been fantastic. All the kind chat messages saying thank you. Again, I'm grateful for y'all being here. So thanks again for the opportunity. And I can't wait to hear from all of you in regards to any questions and any way I can help with y'all. So again, thanks so much. Really, really grateful. Thank you, FB, for having me.
Most welcome. So thank you, everyone. Take care. Be safe, and hope to see you on this Sunday for the next session. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye, TJ. Take care.